Welcome to Dream It, Dare It, Do It, Live the Life You Want. This is Jasmine. I am your host as usual. um, Guys, I hope that you've enjoyed the episode with Leonce. We're going to have a follow-up episode. I talked to him. He's got some news for us, and so I'm going to let you guys know what he's done with some of the funds that he was able to gather because of what you've given to him. Thank you very much. And as you listened to the past episode, you heard that Leon spoke with Harry. He was like Harry said, Harry said, Harry said. And I said, who's Harry? And so here's Harry. Hi, Harry.
Hi, nice to see you.
Thank you so much for accepting the invitation.
Oh,
And I want to tell everybody, he learned from Sid, directly from Sydney Banks, right? You were with him?
yeah, in the second half of 1976, my past wife and I moved to Salt Spring Island, and we became students of Sid, living on the island, dropping into his house, being friends with him, uh, learning about the world of the enlightened being from a person who was just an ordinary guy who now all of a sudden had the wisdom of understanding what his true relationship with God is. And he needed students. And almost all the students were kind of what you call the losers of the world. We were mostly hippies. We were people who didn't weren't successful in the world, and then each of us were looking for an answer. Many came because they had psychological problems, but my wife and I came because we were looking for a spiritual answer. I knew that life was spiritual, but I could see there was a lot of nonsense around, and I had met supposedly other enlightened men, but they didn't impress me. And when I met Sid, I said, he's enlightened. And then as we became friends, you get to see two sides: the side that everybody sees, the business side, and the side that very few people see, the friend side. And they're different. And you get to see what it's like to hang around. But primarily, what would happen on Salt Spring, we were like a family, and we would drop, and Sid would invite us to his house. He had with a big living room with a panoramic window that looked out onto the ocean. And he was very handy with his hands. So he had built this fireplace with Chip Chipman, and he loved it, and he'd have the fire going, and then he would talk to 5, 10, 30, 40 people type of thing in his place. And
He
then,
would just talk.
well, he would talk. Some of the talk was high, and some of the talk was just ordinary. And his wife would come in with tea, and she would serve tea and little cookies, and she'd whisper, "Has he got to the good stuff yet?" And they'd say, "No, not yet." And then she'd go out back into the kitchen type of stuff. So it was a little bit like that. Then there would be music played. We had some very good musicians and so on. And we were learning to be happy. And we didn't hear the words like we hear them now. We had this incredible feeling. And when we went, and each one of us had a different level of going inside and seeing the world from the world that he was pointing towards. And as I went inside, I experienced the oneness, and then I knew life was spiritual. And that's what I was looking for. And then there was aspects that I didn't understand. My insight that everything is one and there is just consciousness did not include thought. And so I had to learn about thought as I moved in, and then I had insights about that, and then I had to connect that first insight to the second insight so that they were united. And at that point, when they were united, I saw the connection between the spiritual and psychological worlds. Before, it was spiritual was the good stuff, and the psychological was a different language, and I did it because you had to do it, but it was kind of boring. And then one day I saw they were the same. And then it didn't matter whether I was in the psychological world or the spiritual world. And and then everything made more sense.
So one of the things that I heard you say on another Zoom call, because you do quite a few, right? Um, you were saying that it took you some time to.
Well, the initial insight took me inside, and I then knew as an absolute fact that Sid had the ultimate answer to all suffering. But every person who heard, they had different level of humanity understanding. I had a lot of bad habits and a lot of naive ideas. I actually thought good ideas and hard work was the path to success. How silly can you be?
Mm,
And so I had a lot of things to learn, and I also I'm very, very multidimensional, and so I'm very much into the mystical side of life as well as the scientific part of life. So uh, I so I was piecing together not only all the things that I wanted to know of how this whole world pieced together. I was developing my own talents that were each one were sort of semi-developed and so on. And they were required for when I was ready to launch,
mm,
where I was ready to
mm.
go into the world without ambition, without looking for results, and just sharing wisdom.
Oh, I love that. Without ambition, going into the world without ambition. Oh, tell me more. Tell me more about that because.
Well, the problem with ambition, is you come from a background that tells you you have to do this and this and this and be like this. The problem was when I had ambition, I had images of what I should say to people. So whenever I met a rich person and I was poor, I would innocently go like this. They are up here and I am down here. And then I would try to say what I thought they would want to hear. But then one day I had an insight and I said, that's all bullshit and it's not working. Well, there's a fact it was not working. And then I had a meeting. Just happened. I had no money in the bank. I have family with kids. I have zero money. It's after Christmas. I meet with this guy who takes $1 million bonus as just his bonus, not his salary and all his perk, just his bonus for as the president of his company. And I happen to have a meeting with him. And I come in and immediately with the ambition, I go like this. And then I said, oh, right, I'm not doing that anymore. Go like this. And I started to just talk to him. And you know what? He just assumed I was as rich as he was. Because if I'm comfortable talking to him about what I'm talking about, I must be rich.
I love that. I love that, Harry. I've seen this for myself, like, and I see it, like I saw it with you when we first started. I was like, oh, it's Harry Derbitsky, and but I have that ability to bring myself back to no, this is Harry, this is Jasmine. I can
Just
talk.
human to human. And
Yeah,
that's the trick. Say I'm going to talk in front of 1,000 people. Well, immediately my mind goes, bah, 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 and you start, oh, I have to get, and then I go, wait a sec, that doesn't work. The only thing that works is if I'm being myself. And
mm,
that's the reality of it. You don't have to pretend. You just have to be yourself, but you have to know yourself. See, everyone thinks the three principles is just about understanding about mind, thought, and consciousness. That's nonsense. It's all about finding out who Harry is. And as Harry sees who he is, it's easy to be. But when you don't know who you are, it's hard to be that. And so you start to see
100%.
what abilities, like you're a teacher and I'm a teacher. We have a different style. I have a very interactive style. So a lot of questions and answers. And I work with Jim. He's a more of a lecturer type of style, type of thing. It's not better or worse. It's just that's his style and this is my style. So you start to see, and and what are you? Are you a business person or a teacher, or are you a marketer? Or and it became very obvious. I'm an educator. That's what I like to do. I like to educate people. And all I'm looking for when I'm educating a client is not to get a result. I'm just looking for them to learn a little bit more about what mind is, a little bit more about what thought is, a little bit more aware of it's coming from them, not by worshiping me. And so I had a very privileged position with Sid that I had an extremely bad habit with. It held me back for 40 years. And the bad habit was I worshiped Sid the man rather than Sid the message. I gave him all the credit. And then when he died, I went, oh my God, I can't phone him up and get a lift. I wonder what I know. And that was the turning point.
Mm.
So you don't care what I know. You care what you know. And you
Yes.
care what you can bring to the table. And when
Yes.
you share that, guess what you get? A good feeling. Because you're bringing the God spirit to the table. Your special spirit, your special talent, not Harry's and memorize. Anybody could say mind, thought, and consciousness. You've heard Sid say that 1,000 times, but it's really, really true. People talk about the three principles, but they should be demonstrating it.
Mm.
That's where it's, if you're a teacher, you can't talk about happiness. You have to be happy. You can't talk about you make a smile and have body language and do this and that. It's all artificial. It's like your dog. Your dog responds to the true feelings you give it.
Yeah. Now
Yeah.
she's giving me a feeling that somebody's walking in her yard.
Yeah. Well, that will do it. Yeah.
So I love what you're saying. And I'm not talking to you, Bote. I was talking to Harry. I love what you're saying because I can see it. I feel it too. I'm like I know when it's okay. I know when this is for me. I know when it's not for me. But all my life, I was told, no, no, you're too stubborn, Jasmine. No, no, this you shouldn't do that. And you shouldn't do this. And I kind of would become even more stubborn. You know, when somebody would say, no, you're too stubborn, I'd be like, exactly. you know, but I'm really,
But let me answer something that's really tricky in 3P.
yeah,
If you're just a follower, you lose yourself.
yeah.
So at a certain point in the 3P, you do a transition like I did. I wonder what I know. You go back, and within that, it means you don't listen to the other people. You're listening to your feelings and letting that guide you because, and then you find a strength in that. And then that strength takes you a long way. That's called personal power or personal knowledge or wisdom. And it takes you a long way, but it also carries a handicap. And that is you start to get a little bit aware that you cannot listen to what other people tell you because it's good for them, but it's not really that useful. But you also have to understand it's a collective energy universe. And so at a certain point, you don't give up your power, but you don't think so much. You just literally don't. So I'm working 20 projects in Africa, in Uganda and Kenya. We're opening up all kinds of new projects, all without money.
Mm-hmm.
All we have created a new platform for the world. We have changed thousands of people's lives, and Leon is an example of it without money. A little bit of money, but so little compared to what I'll compare what we have accomplished with anybody who has $10 million. So we have done it through the power of the three principles. But do we need money? Yeah, we need money, but I like it being poor. because it means we have to stick to what's real. The primary focus when people contact me is, my question is, are they into it for the training, or do they want money? And if they want money, I can promise you they're not going to be into the 3P training. It's got to be the purity of the training. But, so Mugisha, who brought me in, died, had a big accident and died. But we're building a library in honor of him, and there'll be a shelf for that. So a doctor paid for that one. But the amount of money that we've done is so small. And so we are pioneering a new platform for the world, a new platform for 3P. 3P is, the 3PGC it originated from the money makers, and the non-money makers, were sort of left to the side type of thing. Michael Neal's a money maker. George Pransky's a money maker. Dick and Bettinger's a money maker. And I don't begrudge them anything, but they painted an error in the picture that your career and your money that you make is important. How can I motivate people to work in these projects for free? See, it comes from the inside. It comes from the inside. And they're motivated and share, and they're growing at an enormous pace. And why are they growing why are they growing faster than most? It's probably, I don't know if this is true, but it's probably the biggest project in 3P history. And yet hardly anyone at 3P know about it.
Well, tell me a little bit, like how did you get there? Because I heard you say in that call I was listening to you in, like, you were like, what am I doing in Africa? I don't know, but I'm in Africa. I remember you saying that.
Well, I open new doors for 3P, and I'm talented that way. So I'm not following anybody. And I'm very clear, if I'm going to compete against George or Dick, and I'm going to lose. I'm really good at cultivating new opportunities that are untapped. And I did that right from the beginning. Everybody went into, when Sid, the psychologist, came, everyone went into with the psychologist. I didn't. I went in with the Native American Indians. It's quite an opposite world. But I wasn't interested in what their world was. I was interested where the spirit took me. And that's where it took me. And I was curious, not about the psychological world. I was curious about the mystical world. So that's where I went. And then addiction came. And all of a sudden, with no background in it, I became a leading expert in 3P and addiction. And I started a program in addiction. We did 3.5 years with Greg Suki. We have 10 million minutes viewed, 100,000 downloads. Somebody's watching it. Somebody at 3P cares about addiction. Nobody talks about it, of course. Oh, no, bad subject, And then when we finished that, I went into the Muslim world. And with Omar, and we did Tawheed, the spiritual unity of the three principles. And then Catherine Jones, the largest Muslim organization in 3P, invited me to be the training director of the addiction department. So I did that. So in the middle of all of that evolution, we talked before the show how I developed this colossal skill set that I have, which is all based on not thinking. See, if you want to do a lot of work and not be stressed out, don't think so much.
Yeah.
Here's a tip. Yeah. So, and that's what I do. I don't think much. So right out of the blue, I'm on Facebook, and Mugisha from Naki Valley refugee camp in Uganda contacts me, and we start writing. And so within 15 minutes, I saw there was an opportunity. I'm good at that. I'm really good at opening up doors. And kind of like George is. George is really good at, that type of stuff. He's a great bullshitter. So takes a bullshitter to know a bullshitter. How's that? Yeah. So anyway, so I'm all of a sudden I'm invited into Naka Valley refugee camp. He has a school of 500 students and 15 teachers. So I don't even know where it is. I've never been to Africa, and I don't even know any. And I have an image of what a refugee camp is from what we see on the news. It's nothing like that. It's 180 square miles, and there's 79 villages in it, and they're miles and miles apart.
So one refugee camp is like a huge thing, but there's like little villages inside.
Well, Leon's is 3,000 people, and it's a village away from base. So there's base camp 1, base camp 2. His is called New Hope. There's Rabondo. There's all just Sagano. There's just a whole bunch of all over the place.
Okay.
And some of them are quite a distance apart, type of thing. So all of a sudden, I arrived there, and Mugisha has this incredibly high level of consciousness. See, it's a lot different when you have a client who's a lower level of consciousness versus one who's a higher level of consciousness. And he tells his right-hand man, Phillips, Harry knows something that's going to help our community. And so I start to teach. And I bring 3 Muslim ladies from back to the Fitra, from the addiction department, because they come from Africa along for the team. And then I bring in 2 other Canadians after that. So we have a team of 6 people, and we have Africans, all not from Uganda, 2 one from Senegal, 1 from Uganda, and 1 from Nigeria. The Nigerian one lives in Nigeria. The other 2 live in the States. And we start teaching. And it's really interesting. You see, North America is psychologically based, not the Africans.
What are they?
Spiritually based. They have a tremendous, I'm not religious, but they have an unbelievable faith in God. But not like the North Americans where they tie money into it. They have an unbelievable inside-out feeling and understanding about God. But they have one other thing. They're tired of being unhappy. 3P.
Yeah.
So what we do is teach them the love of God. So I don't say 3P. It is called 3P, and they all call it 3P, but it's the love of God plus understanding the role of thought. They have the love of God beyond 90% of the 3P people, but they don't understand the role of thought. And when they get that, and sometimes within 15 minutes, that's what happened to Arashi, or Leon's, as you call him. It probably took, he contacted me. He says, I hear you're doing training and I'd like it. And so I said, okay. And then within 15 minutes, he's like on another level of consciousness, because he finally hooked up the answer that he was looking for, which is their question. If I have such an unbelievable faith in God, how come I'm unhappy?
Yeah.
And that's their question.
He was pretty clear in the episode. He was just like, once I saw that happiness was free, it's like it totally changed.
Yeah. So where did that come from? So the next group is Mohindo and Rogers, and they're training about 10 kids, ages 12 to 17 type of stuff. And I'm teaching that, and then I bring a Sumini in to support, help, and stuff. And a 13-year-old girl asked me, what is love? I go, what? I'm not used to a 13-year-old asking me that question. And that's where Sahara Asked What Is Love, the book I wrote for the African psyche, was created. And I wrote it in 2 weeks, type of thing. It just poured out of me. But Mohindo's, as he was teaching the kids and stuff, all of a sudden he says, happiness is free. That became our motto. And in my new book, which is my statement on life and dreams, in it, I said it went from a motto to reality. Happiness is free. When you think about it, if you have no money, you are living not like Canadians. You are living with no food, no money, no this, no that, no work. And they say, well, how can you be happy if you have no money? But when you say happiness is free, it doesn't cost any money. That is the truth of the reality. You can have as much happiness right now, Jasmine, as you want. Nothing is stopping you from being happy now except one thing.
Yeah.
And once you see that, they see that, oh, this is getting in the way, and the negative thing. So what type of results? Well, immediately, we set up an alcohol department because 3 of the people were heavy alcoholics, dropped it 100%, taught other people.
You guys are also looking at teen pregnancies?
Yeah, that's a new chapter. So I'm an expert at, I don't teach 3P like everybody else does.
Mhm.
I think they're wrong. I think you have to answer the question on people's mind. What is really on their mind? So I wrote a chapter on teen pregnancy because in Africa, it's a big problem. Alcohol is a big problem. So I wrote a chapter on that. Boyfriends, ooh, that's a big problem. Very high divorce rate. Parenting, a big problem. So you want to deal with them but here's the trick. If you're talking about psychological problems, you have to also provide a psychological solution. And since the 3P are the ultimate answer to all suffering, you have that. So you don't mind going into the heavy because you always come out to the light. And that's a trick. When you become a seasoned 3P person, you don't mind going into negative energy. It's just energy because you're going to be able to, it's just part of the process to come out to see more clearly. Where before I would judge it as good and bad. Thus, I would define who you are according to my values. That doesn't work. That's bullshit. You are free to think whatever you want. But I do know if I'm an educator, I cannot tell you to change. I know you have to see it for yourself. And these freedoms, and then now I'm working in 15 projects in Naka Valley, and then all of a sudden Kenya's contacting me, then Northern Uganda's contacting me and stuff. It's just spreading like magic. No, never have once marketed, never once have solicited, never once have looked for opportunities. It just keeps coming every day.
It's like your energy's attracting it or something.
It is exactly like that. Love attracts love. And in this case, they're tired of being unhappy, and they're definitely tired of what the white man is preaching to them. So they want to find the answer for themselves. And then they want to share that answer with the rest of the world. And that's what we're teaching. They will lead the world where everyone thinks they're the bottom. Because they equate it to how much money you have.
Yeah.
But they don't have money, they have spirit. And I can tell you something. Most of my life I have been poor, but I never lost my spirit. And the truth was, it was good that it was tough because I needed, something had to catch my attention. Sid said to me directly, You think you're going to live forever, Harry? Get going.
Mm.
You don't, I'm now 77. There came a point where I said, it's time to get going. So I started at 69. It's
And now you're not thinking of stopping, right?
well, it's just fun. See,
Yeah.
I don't. A lot of projects that I'm doing, people say you must be so busy. I'm busy. I, I this morning I did an alcohol seminar, and now I've created a podcast. I took 5 minutes from it, extracted it, created it, and we putting it out. I do it like effortlessly. I've done so much of that that it's nothing. But the trick is, don't worry. Don't get into your head. It's a bad habit. You're thinking too much. Stop that and stop trying to be rich. Why not try to be wise? And why not be happy? See, I want you to look, my people who listen to this. When the year comes up, let's say it's Christmas, and you look, have you become a better human being or have you not? And if you haven't, you should be embarrassed.
We had this
And
conversation.
those
I had
people,
this conversation with my friend yesterday where we were having this conversation where something happened in her life and people were telling her, oh, you should do this and you should do that and you should do this. And she was like, Jasmine,
everybody's saying that.
yeah,
And
she was
it
like,
all it does, it never worked for me.
yeah,
It all it did was create stress and
yes,
and a futility because I wasn't successful. So what happened? Oh, I took all of that nonsense off and I became successful because I just became relaxed with Harry. You have to know yourself. These people, each person who's gotten rich, they've got a spiritual insight. They might be assholes, and most rich people will fall into that category one way or another.
yeah,
But they
they
caught
have
an
no
it.
choice. They have
Yeah, they
to,
yeah, they caught it, but and everybody's worshiping because they don't worship their wisdom, they worship their money. But they caught an insight of how, and they'll almost all tell you, I'm a product of my failures. That's what I am. I'm a product of my failure. And what a surprise. Who cares what the past is? I only care about how I feel now. I can't remember all that stuff. It's superfluous. It's not even who I am. I can't even remember what order it fell in. And guess what? I don't even care. I'm not interested in it. I'm interested in who I am now. And if life is allowing me to share with thousands of Africans, we've changed thousands of people's lives like Leon's
yeah,
and stuff. And we've done it with no money. And and people go, well, you got to have money.
yeah. Tell me about that. Tell me about that. You got to have money.
Here, I want to read this from Martin Luther King. It really depicts it really well. Let me just bring this up for a second. I just love this quote from Martin Luther King. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, just a sec here. Let me just get it here. Okay, just a sec. Let me find it. Okay. This is from Martin Luther King. The richer we have become materially, the poorer we become morally and spiritually. We have learned to fly in the air like birds and swim in the sea like fish, but we have not learned the simple art of living together as brothers.
Mm,
Isn't that beautiful?
it is.
You have to learn to live together as brothers. We're one. You and I are not separate. We're brought here by God in this moment. And if we can't say thank you and that, it doesn't mean we always agree, Jasmine. It doesn't mean we always put sugar on everything like the world does.
Yeah.
We don't have to do that. We just have to be honest. If I'm honest and kind with you, you'll respect me. You might not agree with me, but you'll respect me. And you'll also know that I care about you. You see, one question nobody has asked, but I'm going to give you the answer to the question. How come there were many, many people on Salt Spring, many stopped growing or grew in a content, they have become content with their life, but they're not teachers, they're not sharing with the world, and they become older and so on.
Yeah.
And how come I didn't? That didn't happen to me. When in truth, if anyone would have predicted in the early days who would make it and not make it, I'd be right at the top of not making it type of stuff. And a lot of people remember me from the past, which is kind of like a joke because you're supposed to forget about the past when you meet people because it's three principles. But anyway, they don't. So what is the one quality that carried me through the fact that I had a reasonably high level of experience of the spiritual, but what was the one personal quality that carried me through to the point where all of a sudden good luck happened in this regard? And I'm going to tell you, because a very important observation. I cared about other people's suffering. I genuinely did. I just didn't see any reason why so many people should be suffering and so poor and all this stuff. It just didn't make sense to me. When, millions of dollars just, and you meet rich people, they spend millions of dollars on the stupidest ideas. And here you have all these people. Can you imagine what $1 million would do to Naka Valley refugee camp? And here's something else I teach. If I had $1 million and put it in there, you know what it would do? It would create war. Because people would want it and they'd become human animals. And so we're teaching people not to be a human animal, but to be a human spirit. And to become a nicer person. And when they become a nicer person, they naturally care about other people. That's what the higher level of consciousness means. You care about other people besides what you think. If you don't care, you're a despicable human being.
Yeah.
You can't get away from it. The world has a lot of people who don't care. Nobody cares about Africa and North America. Nobody.
Do you think that they truly don't care, or that they're just like unconscious?
Well, you said the same thing a different way.
Got it.
Yeah, it's absolutely correct either way you want to look at it.
Yeah.
They don't care because they're caught up in their own heads.
Yeah.
And they can't, they can't, everybody cares.
Yeah, but they're just caught up in their own heads, like you said.
Yeah,
I totally get that.
Yeah, and they put money on the top of everything.
Yeah.
And you can't do that, in my opinion. But if you gave me $1,000 now, Jasmine, I'll say thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah. So that shows how committed I am to that.
But I think that there is a difference, Harry, between, like making money the ultimate goal, and that's the only thing that you want, and just, getting the money that you need to live and then helping other people.
Well, see, the thing is, if these rich people would take one country in Africa and do one project, which would hurt their bottom line zero.
Yeah, that would be so great.
Yeah, but they don't. They just don't. Because they get absorbed in the game, the physical game, the material. You saw Martin Luther King say, as the world goes up in the material thing, you become a pig.
Yeah.
You become a pig. You become self-absorbed with your own money and your own reality. You're totally fine to share as long as your money doesn't go down, as long as your money goes up, type of thing. But you have to, and it's the same for me in Africa. I'm Jewish, so I'm tight. Jews are famous for being tight, and I am. I'm really careful. I'm really smart with my money and stuff like that. So when it came that I had to give some money to the projects, I'm used to making a little bit of money from the project. It's costing me every time I have a good idea to Leon's, I have to pay money to. Yeah, and he's not too shy about asking for it either.
Yeah.
And this one, so each time I gave, it brought a good feeling because it was my bad habit that I was stingy.
Yeah.
And I didn't really want to give any money. And the same thing has
Yeah.
happened for Jim. He's now raised a bunch of money for 40 students in Kitgum, which is northern Uganda, to go to school. They couldn't go to school, and he just put it in his local little paper, and these people all came, and 40 students just to go to school rather than sit around and do nothing.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot of thinking around that. Like, cause, when I first heard of Léonce, like somebody referred me Léonce, and, there's this stupid thinking that, oh, it's going to be false, like it's not going
It's
to
going
be
to be a
true.
scam.
It's going to be a scam.
And let me tell you, a lot of it is scams.
Yeah,
Leon's is not a scam,
no,
but I'll clarify. But every day I get 10 requests for money.
yeah, yeah.
And,
I
and
listen.
and so there is a lot of that, and there's also a lot of we need free money type of thing for permaculture, for the orphans, and different things.
Yeah,
The reality, not all of it is selfish, but but in three principles, we're teaching them they have to earn with effort or wisdom their money, and because so internet is a huge problem. Everybody, they don't have money, but they need, and it's all data. It's not like our thing where,
yeah,
so they're paying per time. And of course I can't teach because everything I do is in WhatsApp or Zoom.
yeah,
So I can't teach unless, so we have to, supply this type of, so then I get to, well, you pay some too. And rather than just give them,
yeah,
and they don't want to, don't get me wrong.
yeah,
If you're giving me free money, Jasmine, I don't want to stop that to stop. But it's
yeah.
part of the growth for
Yes.
them to understand. And they come up with ideas and then they give me a budget. We did a Christmas fundraiser for all the programs. So because you understand Christmas is supposed to be a joyous time and that they have no food type of thing.
Yeah.
So we raised and almost exclusively myself $978. We did a show with Dickin and it was a great success but one of the groups asked for $900 individually. He got $98. Guess what? He was plenty happy. So
Yeah.
you see, it's not only about giving, it's also teaching them about what life is really like.
Yeah.
And as
Yeah.
they start to see that, they start to participate. You don't just ask for money. Where's the budget? And what do you plan to do with it? Type of thing. But
Yeah.
that's beyond their thinking at the beginning. But now they understand if they don't come up with and they never come up with a lean budget. They always come up with a fat budget. Excuse the phrase, but you
Yeah.
know what I mean, eh? A little over the top. Maybe we'll negotiate in the middle type of thing. But
Yeah.
I'm Jewish. I understand that game type of thing.
Yeah.
So we're playing all of that stuff, but the only thing that's important is the purity of the principles. See, Sid wasn't interested in quantity. He wanted more people. That
Yeah.
was understood. But he was interested in maintaining the purity of the principles. That was his message. Nothing is worth compromising the purity of the message. And when people come in where they want money and to be trained, it's not pure. And it always turns out that they want the money more than they want the training. But if they say, oh, I'm into 3P, and then I'll then give them money, they'll temporarily be into 3P.
Mm,
That's
mm,
the way it works.
yeah.
You have to, when you're an old coot like I am, Jap, you've been around the block many times. And part of being around the block is you're seeing reflections of yourself at an earlier stage of development. I did this and now they're doing it. But
Yeah.
I know that was bullshit when I did it. So it's bullshit when
Yeah, I
they're.
got it. I
So
got
you're so you're the beauty of being 77 is you don't care what the world is doing. You're free to do whatever you want in whatever time frame you want to do it in. And if you're lucky enough that you're able to share, you'll stay young. Well, who doesn't want? I still play tennis with top players in the club. How come when that most of the 77-year-olds can't even get out of the chair?
Yeah. Some
So
50-year-old can't get out of their chairs.
but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So you so you're the vitality of sharing the truth, sharing love, being happy is so youthful. It's so invigorating. It's so emptying of this.
Yeah.
And I want to tell whoever's listening here, don't listen to that. That's ego. That's that's your fault. You have got bad habits. Drinking alcohol is not the problem. Being addicted to drugs is not the problem. Don't try to, I got to stop drinking. Trauma is not the problem that creates that stuff, the bullshit of the world, the bullshit that Oprah teaches. Who doesn't have a clue what she's talking about. It's just a bad habit from you got into a habit of thinking a certain way. You got stressed, and you taught your brain to memorize, drink cocaine, and then one day somebody comes to you and tells you there's a better feeling than the cocaine, and that's where you'll go. It's inside, and then you're not drinking anymore. You say, well, it's not that simple. It's true. It isn't that simple because many people will relapse and go into the stuff. But the basic understanding is you're going to only find God through positive feelings. That's the basic rule. You're not going to find God by. That's why we have wars. That's why Israel and Palestine are the way they are. They can't talk to each other. Can you imagine this situation? I'm going to really describe something that's grotesque. I am a Jewish guy who's not into being Jewish, but I talk about it now because it's kind of fun, who's the training director of a Muslim organization. So I have training hundreds of Muslims and in all different, I have we had at 24 people I'm training as counselors. And at the same time, I'm Jewish and I can't talk to the Muslims about the thing, they're too emotional, and I can't talk to the Jews because they're too emotional. And I'm in the middle. Obviously, I can see, and I'm not, I'm a highlight to show people the way that a Jew can work with Muslims. And they don't hear, they can't hear because they're too emotionally charged with negativity and I'm right and they're wrong.
Yeah.
It just doesn't cut, guys. You have to stop buying into the story of humanity. History can change. You just change thought.
Yeah.
I worked with Muslims. I just retired from being the training director of the addiction department for Back to the Fitra mentoring, which is the largest 3P Muslim organization in the world, and mostly women. And I was there for almost 2 years. Not one ripple, not one, just just love, sharing, appreciation for each other. How come?
It is possible.
It's not only possible, it's easy. Just don't bother with the nonsense of the world.
Yeah.
So the same thing in Africa. I teach them. You can't call me Mr. Harry. They've been trained, colonized by the stupid white people that came there with their priests. You have to call me Harry, or I'll call you Mr. John. Oh
Yeah.
no, they laugh. You can't do that. And I say, we're all the same. We're all just a member of the team. I can't achieve anything in Africa without you. And we're just, black and white. What is that? And I insist that they don't think white people are better than black people, because they are cultivated by white people to think that.
Yeah.
We have not done a good job. Humanity has done a bad, bad job, and has really found forgiveness in the money that they have absorbed and the training of their minds. But the trouble is, they're smart. The trouble is, they're spiritual. And the trouble is, they're starting to recognize that maybe they could be happy too, without all that stuff that the white man has told them about.
Mm.
You see, we have the living example in Canada. I worked for 15 years with the Native
Are
American.
you living in Canada? Are you Canadian?
Yeah, I'm from Vancouver. You're from Quebec. I thought
I
you knew
know.
that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
See, I don't look at that at all. I'm just like, I'm talking to somebody.
Yeah, no. I live in Vancouver, and I have a strong history with the indigenous people. I'm not even going to get into it, but it's an enormous connection. And of course, for me, it was very easy to become part of them. Not all of them liked me, but a lot of them liked me. And I participated as a leader in ceremonies, not as a follower, as a leader in ceremonies.
Mm.
How does a white Jewish guy become a leader of indigenous ceremony? He doesn't let it bother him. That's how you become it.
Yeah, if you don't believe it, you're like,
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah,
yeah.
I get it.
If you relate to people as human beings rather than what they are. But see, the point is, when you have the three principles, you don't need their religion. You already have gone inside, so you're bringing your power, and it just gets broader. Versus, I need something, or I have to listen and follow and become. I'm not that good at that, because they always tell you bullshit,
Mm.
and they're not doing it themselves, but they're telling you have to do it. That's the way of the world. And I'm not into that. I'm into Harry has something to share. And if I stick true to it, it will come out. And if I compromise it, I'm a fool.
Mm.
And I
So,
have the highest level of honesty of almost any human being I know. I do not like lying to myself, because I found that was what created all my suffering. I lied to myself. And you know what you call that in psychology? Ego.
yeah.
Lies. Sid originally defined ego as two things. Poor me. Every time you go, poor me, ego, or dig me, I'm so great.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so simple. Because in Africa, they're always going, poor me. But I know it's ego.
Yeah.
See, it's not a problem, guys, unless you take it as a problem. Why am I so successful with addiction? Take it seriously. Everybody else thinks it's a serious problem. I wrote in my addiction. I have 2 books on addiction. So I've got 2 books on indigenous, 2 books on addiction addiction, and 2 books now in Africa. Okay, so here's my 2 books in in addiction. You see the first one?
Yeah.
You see that there's a person, and it says, addiction, there is a way home.
Yes.
I wrote that book when I was in the field, but I didn't really have confidence in what I knew. So I needed three other practitioners to sort of support what I was doing. But
Mm.
I understood this. Then this is the second, it's the same guy, but now it's addiction. There's a way to total freedom. I didn't need anybody. I already knew that we weren't teaching solving addiction. We're teaching total freedom.
And it wasn't a problem to you that you needed other practitioners to help you, right?
Oh, it was a problem because it meant I didn't have the understanding that I needed to help people. I was still um, learning.
Yeah. But
So
you did it
in the
anyway.
in the sense that I was learning at a very fast pace and absorbing what they were teaching and so on, it was very good. But I was also very clear that what they were talking about was much more psychological than I was going to approach it.
Mm.
You see, so
Yeah. Yeah,
so
I
that
got it.
so for anyone, 3P is a spiritual psychology. The 3PGC takes it more from the psychological to the spiritual, and I take it more from the spiritual to the psychological. So I start different than they do.
Got it.
And but it's the same thing. You know, if you
Yeah.
skin your cat from the head or you skin the cat from the back, it's still skinned.
But it's
It's
like you said earlier, it's like this is your style. I got my style, they got their style.
That's it.
You
That's it.
know?
And within that you'll find the freedom
Yeah.
because you'll see the results are bigger. You'll see, oh, and that's what happened when I was doing the addiction, alcoholism, and three principles webinar series, which we broke the mold for 3P because they weren't dealing with it honestly. And um, and and so whenever anybody wanted to have an answer to fix their addiction problem, they went to Greg Suki. He was the person who had the spiritual insight when he was an alcoholic. And so he understood. But whenever they wanted a spiritual answer, they came to me.
Mm.
And that's how it kind of grew. And it's you can see if your Africans are more into the spiritual answer and how it applies to them psychologically. And that's why I ended up there. I suppose.
Harry, I think you're right where you're supposed to be. And I want to
Well,
thank
thanks.
you again. I think that, I loved our conversation. Before we hang up, I would like you to tell us a little bit, like you're talking about your books. You've got books, you have a website where people can buy these. Is there anywhere that people can contribute to your projects?
Yeah, you just go to www.acttraining.biz.
Okay.
BIZ. And in there you can download Sahara What is Love for free, and
Okay.
also the audiobook for free, because Africans haven't got any money, so it's easier to do it. And in there, so I have 6 books, and in there you can see it. But my latest book has just come out. I haven't even got a copy of it yet. It's all done on Amazon, so they'll deliver it locally. They publish it in the country more or less, and then it's local postage. And
Okay.
it's and so the newest book is called My Statement on Life and Dreams. And I want on and the other two you've seen on addiction and so on. And the book started as my statement on life. But guys, right in the middle of writing the book, Africa happened. And then I realized that was my dream. You see, I always wanted to share on that level with the world. That was my dream. I just never thought it would happen. I was a pipe dream. But it turned out it wasn't a pipe dream. And here's the best part. Please remember this. When you embrace the spiritual answer to who you are, or the 3 principles, your life will be better than your dreams. And that's what's happened with Jasmine. So they can go to that, and then they can, and if please do donate to 3P in Africa. And also you can join 3P in Africa Facebook group.
Okay.
And we also have a YouTube channel as well. And I have, of course, tons and tons of stuff on many areas. And many people can say, well, how can you be an expert in so many areas? 3 principles. What's the
Yeah.
answer to addiction? Thought. What's the answer to prejudice? Thought. What's the answer to poverty? Thought. Except it has a whole terminology that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
And the Africans need, like the library hasn't got a computer that we built that has the bookshelf of the 3 has no computer. The school has no computers for the kids, type of thing. All of them need internet, type of thing, that's coming out of our pockets to the best of our ability, type of stuff.
And this is, like if we look on your site, like you guys, you can trust what you're going to find on Harry's
Well,
site.
that's the key. There's a lot of bullshit scams in Africa. They're really great storytellers. You could tell from Leon. Not only that, but he's a pretty damn good storyteller
Yeah.
type of.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you 100% of what you donate will go to them.
Yeah.
Not one penny will go. The amount of money I've made in 3P in Africa is minus.
Yeah.
But I'm Canadian and 77. I'm not rich, but I'm not desolate, type of stuff, and so what's a few dollars here or there? But they need, and not only that, we will send proof of pictures of what it produces, that whether it's a computer or it's a building or it's food or it starts a new program that they desperately need, and even if it provides just, one of the things that's very, very, they love very much is they love coming to the 3P talks, but they would like, a cookie and a pop or something, or a drink or something.
Yeah.
Yourself, it's a lot more enjoyable than it's always nothing type of
Yeah.
stuff. So that type, but the helping with the computers, the helping with the programs, and I published, I printed out 100 Sahara Asks What Is Love to Naka Valley so they can have copies, physical copies and stuff. So there's lots of things, but one thing I will promise you is that you will see what you get, and I will also promise that 100% of it will go to them. I will get zero, and I'm not interested in that. And one day there'll be grants. One day there'll be all this that will be on TV. And until we reach that point, we need your help.
Yeah.
But only give it if you're touched.
Yeah.
It's not an obligation, and I won't be insulted if you don't. But I can tell you that every dollar you give to Leon's, to all the other, I'm doing 20 programs in Africa, all poor, all people. In Kitgum, which is northern Uganda, it's almost worse. And the war leaders killed all the parents and then took the kids. They're all orphans and stuff like that, and they can't even go to school. So, we will, but everything that I do is to enhance 3P. So when people come to me with permaculture or orphans, I say, no, I don't support community projects. I only support 3P projects. It will bring 3P to another level of being able to help. And then, of course, it frees me to give some money to other things as well, type of things. There's no shortage of that. But we have built a new model. The power of the 3 principles alleviates human suffering. We have proven it without the money. But with wisdom, anything is possible. Anything.
We can, the money is there really more to give like the basic needs, right? That's what you need to cover
Well,
with.
basic needs and also new ideas that every idea that's new, that's a good idea, it requires money.
Yeah.
Like if you have a school project, so they need books, they need papers, they need pens, and they don't have any of that. They don't have a printer.
I got nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they got one computer for 500 students.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
so but I'm not here to beg for money. I'm just here to tell you 3P in Africa is alive and percolating, and a lot of great stuff is happening. And they are turned on because Africans who are students are now teachers of 3P.
yes,
But
that's what I love too.
that's my mission.
Yeah.
Not that I become famous, that they teach their own people.
That's what impressed me of Leonce, because for me, I was so impressed that he was as young as he was and he was doing all of this. And I was just like mind blown. I mean, I learned of the three principles, 15 years ago, you know, I mean, he's doing amazing things. So
Yeah, see, they have, see, when you're poor, there's a need to help the community
mm,
in a different way. We've lost our community, you know,
yeah,
and that's all they have. So when I moved into Napa Valley, I was shocked at the infrastructure. None of it government, all volunteer. There's like 40 youth programs. It's just like all these. So all that we've done in some ways is piggyback on the good hearts that they have, but enhance the wisdom level and given them the tools, stories that they can teach on a deeper level, and where they can teach. You see, no one's teaching them about love. Nobody's teaching them about happiness. The only buddy who's teaching them anything is the church. And the church is saying, just trust God. I'm not having the church is doing wonderful work there. But there's something where that power within yourself comes alive. And then you realize, actually, I can be happy. It's not God that makes me happy. It's my own self-love. I love who I am. I love being Harry. I love all of Harry's thoughts. I love the stupidity of Harry. I love the buffoon of Harry. I love the common sense of Harry. That you have to love yourself, people. Isn't it obvious? That's what God's message is. Love, love, and love. That's God's message. And people go, yeah, but I want the money.
Well, I think this is a perfect time to say
Okay.
love, 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 guys.
Okay. There
Harry,
you go.
thank you. Thank
My
you again.
pleasure. Real fun to get together. And thank you, and enjoy life. It's your life. Enjoy it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Everybody else who's listening, follow the links in the description and dream it, dare it, do it, live the life you
Yeah,
want.
I'll send you a bunch of links and you could post them in. I'll send that to you right now, and that will do. And also, please go to 3P in Africa YouTube channel and listen to 3P in Africa documentary. It's 38 minutes, and it ends with a little girl, no more than 5 or 6 years old, talking about the three principles.
Fantastic. I'll put that link there too.
Yeah, okay. I'll send that the links to you, and then thank you very much and have fun.
All right. Take care. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.